Welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage. This can be another episode on the 70 Torino 306 cylinder turbocharged swap. So follow with me through the intro and I'll be back. So guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you check out my first start video. It's actually in my live album. So last night we fired this thing off for the first time and got the camshaft broke in. But that wasn't without some problems. So before we start again, we had some things we got to address. I'll flip the camera around and I'll show you what they were. So when it was running on the live video breaking the camshaft in, I kept hearing a chirping that I thought might have been the turbo over there. Unfortunately, it was not the turbo, and it was actually the idler pulley that I had on the alternator. So, grab it right here. I had this little idler set up here, and what had happened was this bearing had actually walked out here, and this washer, I don't know if you can see it discolored here around the edges, had actually, you can see this gray paint in here, it actually rubbed up against this so hard that it locked the pulley down, and the sound that I was hearing was actually the belt riding on this pulley right here. As you can see, it's got a little burnt spot in the paint, and that's where this was locked solid, and the belt was just sitting there, you know, burning itself the whole time. Probably wasn't helping the car running hot situation because the belt was slipping, so I'm sure it was slipping on the water pump too. But that wasn't the big thing. I don't know if anybody noticed, but when I had my camera sitting here on the cowl facing the throttle body, when I started it, there was smoke coming from this area right here. And the car, after you spun over a few times, started to sound real lazy. Well, I started smelling hot electrical, and it was actually the starter. So, got one of those today to put on it. So, gotta get this back on there. I actually went in there and I spot welded the race of this bearing to the pulley in 4 equal spots. And also Loctite the bearing back into the pulley itself and revised a few things there. So hopefully this won't be an issue again. I was still a couple of quarts low on transmission fluid. And I got some vacuum lines that I need to run just to finish some stuff up before we can actually drive it. Probably not going to get into that in this video, but we definitely need to get this stuff on here and some more fluid in the transmission. So basically in the grand scheme of things, pretty minor stuff. The relay that I had the ignition on is also sticking. Once it has power applied, you can pull the battery cable off of it and everything stays off once you put it back on. So that relay's just, it was my old one I had sitting here on the shelf. It was probably a bad one that just got recycled back into things. So tonight, gotta get the starter on there, gotta get the alternator and pulley back on there, and we gotta get that relay swapped, and we'll see where we get to. So watch along with me. Let's get this stuff back together, and hopefully it'll go pretty quick. Well, the first big elephant in the room is this idler pulley, and the reason I had to have it there was to literally where I could put a fan on it, and it just kicks that belt up just enough that it clears the fan motor. So I put this washer on here for safety to keep this pulley from running off if it ever did, and it done its job. But there's not a whole lot of clearance around that. Maybe an eighth to a quarter of an inch there, and it shouldn't never move. But this pulley actually bolts through the lower alternator bolt right here. And normally I wouldn't take a bracket and everything off to do this, but there's no frontal room in the car to actually get that bolt out. So basically this was my way of getting around all the giant serpentine belt pulleys on one of these and just run the alternator alone with the water pump and actually get the clearance I need. So your belt wraps around the back side of here, and you got a good belt wrap on this alternator before it goes back down to the water pump crankshaft. So this is literally the best way I can show you the clearance issue. You can see our fan motor there, and when our belt goes up, it's literally got a loop around that motor right there on that fan. So super tight little area. But it took some thinking of how to get all this stuff to mount like this. This is literally what I come up with. And it seems to work pretty well. Just kind of a pain because you got to take the whole bracket off to literally do anything. So I'm not going to bore you with watching me put that on, but that's pretty much how you got to put it all on, and I'll pop back in here in just a minute. So I was trying to show how tight this was down in here last night, but it was kind of hard to show, but it's you can see how that gets that away from that fan motor. So hopefully that fixes our pulley problem permanently. And we'll get us back in business. So I got to put our top bolt in there, which means we're going to have to move y'all. So I'll pop back in when it's starter time. Well, there's really no way to show you putting the starter on down there, but you know, it goes down there in that hole right there. And yes, I know the coolant sensor is unplugged. That way I can get my hand down through here, get the battery cable on and off. But yeah, the starter sits down in there. Yeah, got our starter on down there and everything's hooked up. So I guess I can go ahead and plug this little guy back in. Anybody curious what this is my coolant temp sensor. And for lack of better places to put it, since the 306 has only got one threaded port on the outside block, and I put my temperature gauge in it, put my coolant temperature sensor and heater hose. That way we got constant flow to it. And obviously I got to touch a little paint up or paint it black, but you know, there's going to be a lot of cleanup and tidying up of stuff once the car's back movable. So starter's on, belt's back on it. I went ahead and changed that relay while I was there. So I guess I need to throw the battery back in it. I'll check the fluids, the water that's in it, and put another quart transmission fluid in it. And I've got 5 gallons of fuel over there in my can. So we'll see if this thing will run again here in a minute. Well, it looks like I need to hash through tune a little bit on the cold start enrichment. So let me get to that and we'll see what happens. Well, been tweaking on the tune a little bit and got a lot better and got the time finally verified on it. And it was sitting here running pretty good, and I was trying to get that little stutter out of when you first hit the throttle. And it just shut off. I'm going to start back. Got power to everything. I checked that, so Hopefully my ignition module ain't went bad, or this new coil. Because it don't sound like it has any spark. So I'm probably going to pull a plug wire here in a second, spin over and verify, but I think that's probably what's going on. Well, I'm going to use you guys to see if we got any spark between here and the master cylinder lid right there. There is an air gap. So. And that looks like it was a big no. So let's see, coil or module. Ironically, I don't have another coil that will fit this thing, or another 7-pin GMHEI module. I will say this: it's got a Petronix flamethrower 7-pin module on it. Not the first one I've seen go bad this week. I think Bill over at Flatboat Garage has been having the same thing going on, because he sent me a message and had some problems, and told him to put the points back in it and seemed to fix it. So hopefully it's the cheaper of the two options. So it'll probably be tomorrow before I can get a coil. It's getting pretty late. I guess I could take the one off the SVO. That would work. Just not the right, attachment at the post. But, yep, this is what you run into, guys, when you do a motor swap. You find all your problems and weak links and what's bad. All this stuff that's on this car was good. The EFI stuff come off Project Freetro, including the ignition module, and this literally was took out of the car last time it run, sitting on the shelf over here. The coil, on the other hand, was a Wuhan Sparky special, so it's quite possible it went bad. So, and as we all know, Petronix stuff's made in, guess it? Can you guess it? China too. So, it's kind of a crapshoot. Wish me luck. Well, it's the next morning. I come down here, check for spark again. We don't have nothing. Motor's cold, so usually when the ignition module fails, when it gets hot, it'll cut off, cools down, and start back up. So I'm gonna run to the shop and see if I can't find some kind of coil to stick on it, and we'll start there. So hopefully that's all it is. 3 coils later, and still no run. So has to be the module. Fixing to run across town, pick one up. And while I was here, I also noticed that my turbo oil feed line down there is leaking at the little swivel, so that's going to have to be addressed too. Well, this is starting to get expensive quick, so yeah. Between the starter and the idler yesterday, and then got an oil feed line leaking today, and the no spark deal. Yep, yeah, here goes another $100, I'm sure. Well, got the oil feed line addressed and went down and got this. Made in USA, so hopefully this is good. Because, if not, we got something else major going on why it won't fire. Whether it be the pickup in the distributor or something went wrong with the micro squirt. Hopefully not, because all this stuff ran a Freetro before. So let me swap that module out and I'll be back. Well, got this high quality Petronix 7-pin HEI off, and anybody curious, it had dielectric grease on the back of it. So let's see what happens. runs. Still gotta miss that cold start tune a little bit. Well, it's multiple hours later, and we still got this tack jumping deal going on. Car runs fine. Idle. You rev it to about 3,000, it's fine. You take it over 3,000 RPM, the tack starts, on the micro squirt, starts going, 15,000 RPM, and obviously it cuts it off, and it does. Don't know. I've set the air gap on the distributor. I've swapped coils again. I've swapped modules again. I've checked wiring. Don't know. Basically, the DurSpark distributor is the same as what was in the Geo. It's a magnetic pickup distributor. I had no issues there before. And all the wiring is as it was. So, I'm missing something, and it's something stupid. So, just gotta figure it out. Wish me luck. 6 hours later, and I fixed it. Dummy here. Even though I took a reference picture when I pulled all this stuff off Retro on the HEI module, it's spark A and B flipped. Flipped them back around, and we don't have no tack jumping around. So, got that fixed. Now I need some more electrical tape so I can tape everything back up. So, flip around and show you. Well, spark A and spark B. I had those two swapped. I actually had VR input on the right one. Cut all this stuff open and just kind of haphazardly wrap this stuff to, keep any chance from terminals touching. But had the distributor apart about 10 times. Ground the distributor. Missed spark plugs, wires. Cut power wires out of the harness and isolated them, and isolated wires here and all that fun stuff. So tomorrow I'm gonna get to fix that, but let's see if we can get this bass tune hashed in and then work on the pretty stuff later. Well, I developed another oil leak at a little brass fitting down there where our oil pressure line goes in. So looks like a trip to Home Depot in the morning to get something there. I got a towel right there. But we are movable. So my tack's not working. But it goes in gear. And it sounds like it's not going to have a problem making boost. Obviously, I'm not going to try to box this thing up because the tune is still real rough. But I got it hashed out up to that point where the converter locks in and it starts to make boost. So, well, it don't seem like a lot's went on. I wasted most of the day troubleshooting the jumpy tack thing and, a few other problems like the ignition module that died and then the car wouldn't start. So, I guess from here, tomorrow I got a bunch of wiring to tie up. I need to diagnose why my shift light's not working. And, hopefully I can get this thing out of the garage and, get a few things wrapped up and that oil leak up there fixed and that little stuff. And it won't be long. We should be able to take a first drive. But this wasn't what I intended this video to be, guys. It just is what it is at this point. I spent a lot of time troubleshooting and trying to diagnose stuff, and you know, not everything's all glory. And considering this is like the third day this thing's ran, and the first two it's not ran good, and today's the first time it's ran okay. To the point where I could actually start getting the tune kind of hashed out over these last few hours. So if you haven't yet, I'd appreciate it if you like this video. Comment down below if you got anything to say. I always appreciate comments. And most importantly, if you're a new subscriber to the channel, well, not even a new subscriber, if you're a new viewer to the channel and you're not a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you'll kind of stay updated on all these projects that I got going on. So, I guess, guys, until the next video, which will probably, hopefully, be the next day or two, as long as everything keeps going smooth, that's going to be it for this video. And I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you at the next one.